magnets, crystals, and pyramids.
Magnets, crystals, and pyramids. I am your host, Brother Ankh, Rising Sun. Your co-host, First Science Officer Lester Loving. Each week, we bring to you healing information for your personal empowerment, ranging from magnets, crystals, pyramids, Orgone, and tonight we are going to feature a renowned guest, Master Yao Morris, and his prime lieutenant of Tantra, Thomas Hargrove. Before we begin, I want to thank you for being on the show. And each show is recorded so you can listen at your leisure to the vast amount of information to be absorbed. In conversation with a good brother today, a concept that I want to incorporate in each show, each program, is the African concept of Ubuntu. Ubuntu, as Muhammad Ali so eloquently said, I forgot which college, me, we, me. Ubuntu is the concept you can't be human all by yourself. You cannot be human all by yourself. And when you have this quality, Ubuntu, you are known for your generosity. The Western European concept, there can only be one, is a paradigm that is obsolete. We now must think of ourselves as collective consciousness, separated only by our mini-mind, separated only by our ego, separated only by our disillusionment. You are known, we are known, think of ourselves as collectively connected to each other. And what you do affects the whole world. What we do changes the whole world. Ubuntu. There can be no better reality until you was born. Each of us were born on a mission, a purpose. And I salute the divine in me. I salute the divine in you. Me, we, Ubuntu. At this time, I want to bring on our co-host, Lester Lovin, to share with us what's going on the planetary level. In addition, the first half hour, he will speak about the connection of Orgone energy, also known as prana, chi, ki, and orgasmic energy. Lester, welcome to the show.
Greetings, Ankh, and greetings everyone listening.
Yes, glad to hear your voice, and we got a packed house tonight, brother.
Very good.
So talk to us. What's going on this planetary level that so many people seem to be truly stressed?
Well, this is nothing new. The sun has been putting out at least double the amount of energy that it normally does. So even though we haven't been hit directly by sunspots, this is a time of very deep, as I've been saying, that without going into a whole bunch of science, the end result is that the testosterone of the humans on the planet is extra high, which leads to conflict and fight versus rationality and negotiation. In particular, we have Mercury retrograde, we have an energy confluence between Mars and Saturn. The end result is that there's a battle between the old and the new, and the end result is that even though, or until these energies are resolved, because everything is always about resolution of conflicting energies, until this is resolved, this is a very extremely high time for intuition and even, as I said last week, psychic information. Intuition is the local, psychic is the eternal, and therefore this is a time where it's really important for us to use our intuition and our psychic energy to move forward.
Great, great. I see a lot of volcanic activity. Is that also connected with the collective energy that we're having from the solar flares?
Well, like I said, there's not really that many solar flares. It's just the fact that Saturn always deals with internal structuring. So what's happening on the inside of the planet is Saturn, and thus stuff that's been long buried or been building up is coming forth to eject itself out. The incident that we had last week with the earthquake in Italy, we should be paying attention to that, because as those plates crunch up against each other, then that moves other plates, and you can always tell which direction it's going in, because there's going to be an earthquake somewhere on the earth sometime soon, further west. And like I said, when you have conflicting energies, they're always trying to resolve themselves. And I also have been saying for months now that we will really not see anything that is true or obvious about the political situation until after the 9th of September. Even more specific, we won't see any kind of resolution until right before the first debate. So anything that people are saying now, whether it's Hillary or Trump or any of the other candidates, the real revelation or what's really going on will only start to happen at the end of September.
Okay, thank you for that, Lester. As we now proceed forward with your overview, could you share with us the connection between Orgone energy and orgasm? Why do they sound so similar?
They sound so similar because they are the same root. That Dr. Wilhelm Reich, who was one of the three major early pioneers of psychotherapy. You had Freud, who dealt with early childhood conflicts. You had Dr. Reich, who said that there's an emotional component, and you had the third person whose name escapes me at the moment, but he talked about archetypes, or that is to say, group consciousness and how these things are resolved. They each were.
Lester, hold on. Just pull that back. Roll that back just a few sentences. say the name and what he said about group consciousness?
Yes, group consciousness. Like I said, it just escapes me. We all know his name. Oh God, the guy who talked about archetypes. Anyway, group consciousness. That what we call individual thinking is really coming from a well or a collective mindset, and that we pull down. We each individually pull down from that group mindset in order to express why we are here as souls. I'm on the tip of remembering his name, but so basically, what we're displaying here is the fact that psychotherapy or psychoanalysis really has 3 different or 4 different components to it, and that they were each looking at it from a different brain or different part of the brain, and they were each individually working for each expression. But Dr. Reich realized at some point that even though we have these problems, these psychological problems, that there had to be a physical component that could be worked on to resolve these problems. And Freud said it was all about, talking your problems out, and early childhood stuff. Whereas Dr. Reich said, hey, there's something that we can do regardless of how old you are or, what your cultural background. Now, we should remember that these people worked in Vienna, and therefore you had a very repressive, very sexually repressive, and very bound up culture that was dealing with monarchies and dukes and earls and that whole hierarchy. So the world was changing right in front of their eyes, and they were trying to deal with not only the repression that came from their culture, but also the Industrial Revolution, the fact that these people were also dealing with conquering other nations and other continents, in specifically Africa, and therefore there was an interchange between their world and the world outside of themselves. I mean, people always talk about the fact that Freud always had all kinds of African sculptures and fetishes in his office, which evoked people going outside of the culture that they directly dealt with. Okay.
Are you talking about Jung, Carl Jung? Lester?
Oh, that's it. All Jung, yeah. That's exactly right. So, okay,
Carl
but,
Jung, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have time. We don't have time to break down all that. All I'm saying is that there were 3 different major players in the annals of psychoanalysis, and they each focused on a different part of understanding the consciousness of humans. Dr. Reich, he had an aha moment in terms of realizing there must be a physical component. There must be something physically that can be done in order to change or shift people from unhealthy states to healthy states. And this is where the Orgone orgasm thing came in, because he realized through his studies that there were 4 states that all energy, all matter go through. And those 4 states was, first of all, energization, activation, where something, becomes awake. And then there was energization or acceleration, where once that thing becomes aware, it starts to speed up. And then the third state was orgasm, where you reach the peak of that acceleration, and then you had rest. So the word orgasm, of course, comes from the Latin, which means a swelling or a growing state. And whenever anything swells or grows, it reaches a maximum of how much it can contain, and then it has to release that energy, and then it goes to the rest state. Meaning, once it dumps out all that energy, then it has to go back to a reset. Now, how this relates, as you said, to an African understanding is that the Kemites, or the ancient Egyptians, understood that you are always going through these four stages, and that instead of looking at it from an individual standpoint, they were able to send out activating and accelerating energy into their entire nation. And then they also built, so that would be your pyramid. And then they also had devices that, once you got to the orgasmic state, they would allow that energy to be released, and then you would go to the rest state, where you could then rebuild your energy to start all over. Now, our culture, and specifically, ironically, the nephew of Dr. Freud, realized that you can take advantage of these four states. And if you keep people in the first two of them, the energization and the acceleration state, without having the release of the orgasmic and the rest state, that you can sell them stuff, that you can keep them in a state of perpetual frustration, and that then leads to constipation on the spiritual level, and you would then be able to sell them medicines and all kinds of stuff, everything from cars to clothes to pornography and everything else. Dr. Reich said, however, that we understand from examining nature that by having, or that is to say, the popular term now is biomimicry, which is you copy nature. And in nature, if we look at everything in nature, we see that no matter what it is, from the tiniest to the biggest, that you always have the non-metallic on the outside, and then you have layerings of non-metallic to metallic to non-metallic to metallic. And so he started making these devices called Orgone accumulators, and they always had non-metal on the outside, which is in science is called the dielectric. And then next to the dielectric, you had a sheet of, or a layer of metal, and then you had another layer of non-metallic, and on and on. The more sets of, and each of those combinations of the non-metal to the metal was called an araku. And the more araku, or the more of these dual layerings that you had, the more that you're actually capturing what we now call chi, or prana, or ki, or just healthy energy, and when someone was off balance or not distributing out letting off their energy and accumulating rest, and therefore getting a reset, that if you put them into these environments or these accumulators, that their cells would rebalance themselves, and therefore they would come out being much more aligned and healthy. Now, and I've said this on this show many times, that we give credit to Dr. Wright for rediscovering this principle. But the funny and most ironic thing is that Dr. Wright had been booted out of many different nations because he kept saying, you cannot talk about orgone energy without talking about sexual release. And in Vienna at the time, the last thing that you wanted to talk about was sex, because men were considered to be dominant. They didn't even have an awareness that female sexuality and female release was important. They didn't even have an awareness that the sperm was only half of the genetic information. From the time of the late Old Testament until that time, it was always thought that the male contributed all of the genetic information, that the female had really no role other than just being a carrier of that. Now, I have to be anally historic here. And that is to say, what I mean by that is that we're talking about Western European understanding of nature. The people who are considered heathens, the people who are considered to be non-Caucasoid, the Western interpretation of ideal humans, all these cultures worshipped and or had a very deep understanding of the feminine principle. So naturally, Western civilization tried to conquer these people for their natural resources, but also for their understanding and their religious beliefs. And Dr. Wright, who had been doing all this research on this, eventually ended up on a vacation in Egypt, where he then went into several temples and found physical evidence, not only in the hieroglyphs, but found where they had in their sanctum sanctorum, or the inner chambers, where they had non-metallic materials, such as the granite and the alabaster and the quartzite, but also that in these inner chambers, they were lined with metallic things, so it was either all gold or all silver or all electrum, which is a combination of gold and silver. And just stepping into these chambers would reset you. So Dr. Wright had not only found a healing modality for Western 19th and 20th century people, but he also validated the fact that ancient peoples also greatly understood this, and they had their culture set up so that people would never be bound and caught up into these stagnant states of frustration and constipation.
Wow. Please continue.
Well, see, once again, once, and see, it's way deeper than what I'm saying, because, now everybody talks about orgone and organite, but he went even further than that. As a true scientist, he took it to wherever the science would lead you. And he eventually found out that you can evoke life by making these accumulators, that you can stimulate life to grow from where there is no life. And so, just like the movie Total Recall, you can bring a dead planet into a state of livingness, or you can take somewhere that has very little life and make abundant life. This is completely threatening to the powers that be. And at the same time, he started to build these accumulators, and eventually ended up over here in America, because he'd been booted out of everywhere else, where people were going inside who had arthritis, rheumatism, cancer, whatever, and they would come out not so much being healed, but going to the state of homeostasis, where this homeostasis means where the body is in balance and will maintain or will offset any illness. So the orgone doesn't cure you, but it brings your body and your conscience back to a state where you can bring yourself into a state of healing and wellness. This was ultimately the threatening stage to the powers that be, and eventually he was arrested, put on trial. Never once in his trial did they ever address how his stuff worked, or if in fact it did work. And he died right here in New Jersey in prison for something that was not only something that he had worked on for 30 plus years, but also was a validation of how aware ancient cultures were. Now, I just want to say that he talked a great deal about the different materials that work or emphasize orgone or organite energy. And so, for example, he talked about active metals and passive metals. So he would always be using copper or iron. Iron's a passive metal, but when it comes to the layering, it works just well, like the steel wool, which I know you work with a great deal. See, what iron in and of itself is a passive metal, but steel is where you combine two different metals together, and therefore you make it from the passive into the active. And he was able to. What I'm leading to is the fact that aluminum is probably one of the most harmful elements that we talk about in terms of interaction with humans. So, what do I mean by that? I'm going to go back to what I said before, that everything in nature has a non-metallic on the outside and the metallic layered inside. There's not a cell in our body that has a coating of metal on the outside. The metal has to be on the inside for it to be most effective. And by effective, I mean attracting the energy from outside of our atmosphere into this realm. Because once those energies, which we call chi or ki, once that energy comes into our atmosphere, it's automatically attracted into the non-metal first and then into the metal. So, what the hell is this boy ranting about? I'm talking about aluminum siding. The fact that we love to put this stuff on the outside of our house, and we think, oh, well, it's cheaper than wood, and, lasts so long and whatever, but it's really doing great harm. We got all these trailer parks that have aluminum, the aluminum housing. This is not a good thing, So a great deal of why we don't have this process of accumulating and letting off energy is the lifestyle, and I laugh at that word, that we live, and we really have to do something about it. Now, the other thing that's so significant about what Dr. Reich and many of the other pioneers who are working with Orgonite now is that there's no such thing as a stagnant state. There's no such thing as something that's impermanently, irreversibly negative. That just does not happen in our scientific world. So Orgonite comes along and lets us know that if we take stuff that's non-metallic, such as the resins, and where do these resins come from, They come from living organic materials, such as trees. And we combine it where we put the metals on the inside, then suddenly we're attracting this positive energy that goes into it. And like all things that obey the laws of nature, they don't just hold on to it, they radiate it out and spread it out into their surrounding environment. So Orgonite is the latest version, or the updated 2.0 understanding of what Dr. Reich was talking about, in terms of the fact that we've got all this negative stuff, whether it's, Wi-Fi or the chemicals that are in the paints, the carpets, the food, the aluminum siding, all that stuff, but it can be transformed and transmuted. And several thousand or hundreds of thousands of people are making the Orgonite instruments and spreading this energy throughout the world. And of course, they radiate out the other things that other people are making radiate out. And eventually, they connect together so that you now have a coherent field, so that you're neutralizing a great deal of the stuff that's out there. It's been known for a very long time that the microwave towers, and of course this movie came out recently that helped with this understanding, but, for a long time we've known that these things generate way more energy than the signals that they're carrying. What is the purpose of these things? Or even if I'm not going to the conspiracy level, I'm just saying that, these things are setting off or letting off energy that is having a negative effect on us. The Orgonite is actually neutralizing a great deal of this stuff. And you can plant it in the ground. You can wear it on your body. You can put it in your car. It is extremely important that people wear this stuff while they're traveling on the airplane, because the higher up you go, the more you're getting, the more you're attracting the energy, because the plane is, a great deal of the plane is aluminum. You're attracting energies that are neutralizing or reversing our natural field and our natural natural intelligence. But I want to go back to just briefly. I want to go back to something that's highly, highly, highly significant and overlooked, even by a lot of people that are in the Orgone/Orgonite field, and that is Dr. Reich and the ancient Egyptians told us there are 4 states that all matter go through. All matter. Whether it's a bridge, whether it's a cell in the body, whether it's our car, it doesn't, trees, they all go through activation, acceleration, peak or orgasm, and then rest. And both the Kemites and Dr. Wright rightly pointed us to the fact that the rest state is the most important state of those four those four parts of the cycle. I'm going to repeat that again. The rest state is where we reset the body and can accumulate the most energy. I know so many people, they get up, they want to make all this money and run around, they eat while they're driving in their car, and they do all these things, but that's not addressing the rest state. The rest state is the most important. The rest state determines how much orgone or chi energy we can accumulate into the body. The other factor, which is, is my baby, my big thing, is the negative ions. The moving water in our environment is what determines how much chi will be accumulated into our direct environment. And therefore, blocking off the corners of the room and also having moving water by placing quartz crystals into bottles and putting those into the house will make the water move and move more effectively in our environment. Having a quartz crystal that you wear, okay, the point of the quartz crystal is generating negative ions, which will attract the chi or the orgone, as it was called. So it's very important that we have the maximum amount of negative ionization. Now, of course, we know that the things we so love in our society, the TV, the computer, the fluorescent light, the refrigerator, the copying machine, the washer and dryer, all of those generate positive ions, the very thing that attracts the chi energy to come toward us. So the orgone or the organite really, really helps with breaking down that negative energy and attracting the energy that we want. I should also say that it's illegal to generate orgone energy in your house. It is illegal.
Wow, that's crazy. That is. Wow.
Now, you're not going to really have, there's no orgone police to come in and take it out. But for at least the first 25 to 30 years after Dr. Reich's major work was revealed in the United States, it was illegal. They, when he got arrested, they went around and not only destroyed every orgone accumulated they could find, but they burned all his books and all his notes and all his stuff. So, I was fortunate enough to have come into this thing at a time where I was able to go up to his joint, as we say, his crib up in Maine, which is now a museum, and there were some people that had notes. There were also notes from Europe, and there was also a major attack by the psychological or the psychoanalytical society, specifically Anna Freud, the daughter of Sigmund Freud, because Dr. Reich was talking about healthy sexuality and orgasm, and Anna Freud was talking about what her dad was talking about, which was repression and not dealing with sexuality. Specifically orgasm. So it is important, and I've said this on many occasions. People always growl at me, and I'm like, we must talk to our young people, not when they're 14 and 15, not when they're going off to college, but we should talk to them from the time that they can talk and say, look, there's males and there's females. And we have most stuff in common, but we also have parts that are different. And there's a reason that there's ways that these different parts of ourselves activate energetically to keep us healthy. So, when I was a kid, people didn't even use the word penis or vagina or any of this other stuff. They had all these euphemisms for this stuff, and people were very confused and misaligned in terms of having respect for their own body parts and their natural urges. This is the opposite of orgasm and rest. This is what this society promotes in order to sell their products and to keep us in this idle state. Right now, you look at a commercial, they don't tell you the materials of the sweater or how great the car is. They tell you you will feel special if you have this product. So naturally, the implication is if you don't have this product, you can't get to orgasm, you can't get to rest and restart. And that's where we're at. So that is the history of Dr. Wright, and the late 19th into the 20th century, and now into advertisements, and also the concept of lifestyle, which was an invented term by advertisement. Lifestyle is not a psychological term, it's not a health term, it is a business term. Just in the same way that in 1949 they came up with the term teenager. There was not an emphasis on teen years until they realized they could promote and pimp it in order to sell stuff, and that's where the generation gap came from. Because they differentiated the fact that as a teenager you're not like your parents, you're not like the older people. Whereas all the cultures around the world, I know you always talk about African culture, Hank, but even Western cultures respected their elders. Up until this pimpdom thing that they started promoting in order to sell products. So, we've got to really, really, people hear me and they think I'm intellectual. I'm about feeling. I'm about, does this feel good? Does this feel right? Put it in your mouth. A baby or a young kid, when they put stuff in their mouth and it's not right, they spit it out. It's time for us to spit it out and really get down to, our own feelings, what is healthy, in energizing our local environments, energizing the inside of our bodies, and then going out and attracting other people who are also interested in that, and then resonating so that the earth will be the Orgone or organized center that it used to be.
So, one question, Lester, before we bring it full circle. Does Orgone or Orgonite promote orgasm, and does orgasm amplify or promote Orgone?
It's a cycle. It's a cycle. In other words, a scientist would say Orgone in and of itself doesn't promote orgasm, but it keeps the energy flowing and moving so that you will eventually get back to the reset and then try again. So the short-term answer is no, you can't have a causative relationship. But that's in the short term. In the long term, absolutely it does. At the same time, orgasm, and once again, orgasm is not the focus. The rest is the focus. Okay? Rest promotes attracting the things that we need and being right with the world. Orgasm, of course, is a very temporary thing, meaning that when we have the orgasm, it does not last more than 2 or 3 minutes. The interesting thing about orgasm is, if you look at the word for orgasm in the French, it means little murder, because the body you actually shut down. You as you always say, you out your rabbit ass mind at that moment. For about 2 minutes, you're gone. And to refer back, but to refer back to the show from last week, the thing is, at the end of the orgasm, you go to negative 35.
Negative 35. What does that mean to the people in the audience?
Said that that's the state where you're in formlessness. You're back to the origin of the universe. You die to your own. You die to your own personality. When you take the ayahuasca, when you take the LSD, when you take the mushrooms or all that stuff, the point is to get to the negative 35.
Wow.
And so I'm answering your question now. The more you actually keep that cycle going of having the orgasm and then the rest and then the activation and all that, that's to get back. The whole purpose of that is not to get your nut off, is to get to the negative 35, so you're at the source.
Wow. That's powerful. That's powerful. Thank you, Lester. That was great.
I guess you can get your nut off too, but that's not the end result. I'm sorry, but I just had to say that.
Go ahead. You got a few more minutes. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, like I talk to people and they're like, I dogged that girl out, or I fucked him to death. What that is? No, that's the point. You're supposed to go to death and then resurrect. That the death is not the end. It's not knocking somebody else out. It's not being dominant over somebody else. It's getting your own thing back into this endless cycle where you're rejuvenated over and over and over again. And the faster you get that wheel going, eventually, and there's several people we've had on the show that will tell you, when you get to that, when you accelerate that cycle, eventually you'll be in orgasm all the time. That's the joy that you always talk about in terms of the sea of joy of the universe. That's what Buddha talked about in the endless bliss. That you are now connected with your own sexual act with the universe.
Wow.
And
that sounds blissgasmic.
And you can only attract, you can't attract negative people when you get to that state. You have to attract people who only have your good in mind, because they only have their own good in mind.
Wow.
So witness.
Wow.
That's
wow. That's the nut. That's the nut.
That's to be a nut. That's right, son.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lester, for that. I'm going to read Master Yao's intro, and Lester, hang with us, because quiet as is kept in the tantric circles, Master Yao is, I would consider him a genius in what he is offering. And the name of the show tonight is Tantra, Goddess Awakening and Power, featuring Master Yao Morris, Thomas Hargrove. Master Yao is an author, life coach, Tantra instructor. Master Yao grew up with both parents in a rural farming community. He graduated from the United States Merchant Marine Academy with a degree in engineering and a minor in business. Master Yao holds a federal engineering license, U.S. Coast Guard 3rd, inactive. He spent some of his early adult years as a junior executive in Fortune 500 corporations. From 1990 to 1997, he participated in the Amanmir Research Project into the mystery systems and the tantric secrets of indigenous cultures. After this, he became a life coach, author, and eventually founded the Grand Trine Program. He is somewhat of an authority on ancient religions, the occult, and the spiritual cultures of indigenous societies. Master Yao is formally indoctrinated into several mystery systems. His most popular work, Awakening the Master Feminine, explores deep into the ethos of feminine energy. It maps a blueprint for awakening the female to the heights of bliss, understanding, balance, and healing. It is description of the feminine DNA. In all, he has published 5 books and has several in active process. His last book, The Oracle of Kemsa Nu, is an epic fantasy set in a future age, the 6th age, that follows the collapse of the current world known as the 5th age. Amir, 1997, The Return, 2001, The Natural Blueprint, 2004, Awakening the Master Feminine, 2008, The Oracle of Kemsa Nu, 2010. In 2011, Master Yao founded the Grand Trine program. There are 5 tiers or levels to the system. Grand Trine imparts to the student the advanced techniques and concepts of Kundalini science, life sciences, and indigenous natural science. It includes a dynamic version of Tantra projection work. Now I have to look through the queue to see if Master Yao or his primary student, okay, I don't see Master Yao's under the weather, so I would like to bring on at this time our sister who was his assistant, sort of like on the retreat. I called her the Queen. And her name is Surama Makisha Lewis Phillips. And I want to pull up her number that she has queued me in on 202. Sister Surama, welcome to the show. Glad to have you with us.
Hi. Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Oh, fantastic.
Our brother Thomas is tied up with business. Master Yao is a little under the weather, so we're going to do a mass consciousness healing for him at the latter part of the show. If he's able to come on, we can. But he has so many diamonds that he has polished, yes. And you were shining bright at the retreat. Talk to us, sister.
Thank you.
Talk to us. Tell us what you're working with.
Well, first I want to say thank you so much for having me on the show and for such wonderful words. You're very, very kind. It's always my pleasure to be of service whenever I can, particularly when working with Master Yao. So, you know, the retreats are always a beautiful experience because they're all different. Each and every one of them. They're different because they're designed to meet the needs of the individual people in attendance. So we had a great time at this past retreat. Lots of wonderful things happened. And I'm happy to share as much as I possibly can about each of those things.
Well, excellent. Yes, I am right here. I am listening to you carefully. You had a magnificent and magical ceremony that blew me away. I mean, it was like, wow. Tell us about your life journey. Like, how did you become the magical priestess, goddess of love that you are?
Well, that's a very good question. I, as most healers, did not start out, you know, life with a silver spoon or the textbook happy ending. And so in that process, one of the things that became clear to me was my love for God and my love for helping people. And I made a decision very early on in life that I would always follow God no matter where it took me, whether it was in the front door of the church and out the back, or in the front door of the temple and out the back door. Wherever God was is where I wanted to be. And if there's anything I could do to help, to be a contribution, that's my first choice. And so consequently, I've moved through churches and numerous other spiritual organizations and developing myself and moving past my own issues, my own struggles. Not that I'm past them all, I'm still alive, but making that conscious effort to improve and to be a better citizen on this planet. Recently completed my graduation as an Account priest in Ghana, West Africa, and I'm very, very happy to have completed the 3-year part of the process, and now I'm in my 4th year of training with that. And in working with Master Yao, generally bringing that spirit of overall love to any event and any activity that we're doing, the attitude of inclusion, of praise, of acknowledging the value in every human life that crosses my path, and being able to celebrate that with reckless abandon, with no holdups and reservations about the beauty that's in front of me. So that ceremony that we participated in was actually born out of something. I asked myself, what is it that I want? What is it that I want? And asking myself that question, what came to me is I want everything I ever dreamed of. I want to hear all the things I never heard from every man in my life, from every woman in my life. I want to hear every possible affirmation of my goodness, because that's what God sees when God looks at me. And I wanted to experience that. So my fiance was lucky enough to be my guinea pig. And so I said, hey, I want to do this ritual with you. I want to affirm you. I want to tell you how good you are. I want to think of every possible way that I can tell you how good you are and let God speak through me. And he allowed me to do that. And he returned that blessing to me. And we found that was lovemaking on a whole other level. It was not a physical with the body, but it was just as potent and just as important. So, yes, I guinea pig him when I can at home before I share those ceremonies with other people.
And I felt the energy, and I thank you again, Lester, for that that wonderful intro and overview of the orgasm, Orgone energy, because when you would speak, sister, I would feel energy ripples. I mean, that's, I was, like, oh, what is she working with? I got on my little organite, like, what she got going on over there? And it was really beautiful the way you would literally polarize the brothers and polarize the sisters. And Master Yao and Surama and all the participants in the retreat, I want to thank whoever, Sister Yoko and Kim Muse, I want to thank them for the mastery of the food. That food was
beautiful. It was beautiful. It was so very well done.
Because I was like, now I know I'm down south. I know I'm in Georgia now. With the food, it was delicious. And that was orgasmic for me, because I like Southern style food,
Awesome.
So how did you like Master Yao? Tell us a little bit. How did y'all connect? It seemed like y'all have known each other forever.
We've known each other for quite some time. I met Master Yao about, how many years ago? 15 years ago, when I moved to D.C. And I ended up moving into a communal house on 14th Street. And at the maximum, I think we had 17 people living there, men, women, and children, at our maximum. And with that 17 people, we always had daily guests for dinner. So we were always serving 20 people at our house. And that's where I met him. So we were living as a community in this home. which was a really beautiful experience and really restorative for me to be able to see men love me and not have to exercise that physical expression, but to love me genuinely as a man, to love me and care for me as a woman, provide for me and look out for me. And to do that just because they had that quality of integrity and responsibility and leadership. And so Master Yao was one of the men that lived in the house at that time. And just, they were just doing what they do and being good men and not really even knowing. And I didn't even really know the depth of restoration that was happening for me by being in the space with them. So that's where I met him. He helped me tremendously, looked out for me. We all worked very well together.
Yeah, it was very, very complimentary, and it was very fluid. I grew up in a big family, and in our family, we would fight, Surama. We learned how to have like knee-jerk reactions on comedy and being like a wise. You had to know how to have oracle skills to combat at course at dinner, because Pop was like he was like a family. He was a Leo, and Mom was a Taurus. So we grew up with a very special kind of crazy and loved them, and it was like 8, almost 9 of us, because my cousin Ricky, he was a part of the family, and we would fight. And the times that when we would have to go to war, because our Pop had us move into like a hostile neighborhood, we would literally align ourselves together and go ahead and do battle. But then when we get home and relax, we would basically mildly, with comedy, cuss each other out on the regular. But it was all love. So, it looked like y'all were like brothers and sisters, but you had the energy to influence and flow with a beautiful weekend that was magical.
Well, I think the root of that, brother, is that I am very comfortable and very confident in his love for me as a human being. And I think he's also very comfortable and very confident in my love for him as a human being. And so it generates a certain level of receptivity and responsiveness between the both of us in terms of knowing and respecting boundaries, honoring each other while challenging each other to be our best and to be better. And so I think that's what you're saying. I have a really deep respect for him, for what he says and what he teaches me, because he continues to talk to me even when nobody's there and it's just us. It's still an ongoing dialogue between us in terms of my own growth. So I don't think we explained the ritual. Did you want to talk about that?
If you, yeah, and also Sister Riziki, I want to bring on Sister Riziki after you share, and I also want to bring on our brother R.N. Romaine. He's in the queue, and Thomas, he's going to let us know when he's going to be able to come on. And Master Yao, I hope he's just listening to the show, so we're giving him a lot of love. But go ahead and continue, Sister Surama.
Okay. I'm sure folks are maybe wondering what you're referring to when we talk about the ritual space. And this particular ritual was a ritual of affirmation, affirming the power of the God and the Goddess to bring healing to another human being by using your words and gentle touch. To affirm the God in a person, to see the good and highlight that, and to affirm a brother verbally with conviction, because you are serving as the voice of God in that moment. So during that ritual, I asked the women to be the voice of God, to actually speak truth to power into the ears, into the bodies of the men that were there as a part of this ceremony, to actually allow them to feel God's love through them, and to do it with a persistence that pushes past resistance. Because sometimes we hear somebody compliment us and we brush it off, we just keep going. But to compliment and affirm with enough zealousness and persistence that you break down those barriers that we put up to keep ourselves from being disappointed. So that's what I was hoping would happen for the brothers and also for the sisters there. And so to encapsulate that in a long enough process for people to actually receive it. And then the last part, when some individuals didn't have a partner, we did
like me.
Almost like yes. Did you like the end?
You know what I did? I went upstairs with another brother. He was like he had a fighter built. He had on loose fitting boots. He was bald headed, and he went downstairs before I did. I had some scotch, and I saw a line of golden. You had a line of beautiful sisters. They had this golden attire, and they marched downstairs. And I remember me and the brother looked like, it's about to go down. And he went downstairs first. And when I got downstairs, all the brothers were nestled in the arms and the bosoms of almost like Oshun, Heteru goddesses giving like healing, as if the brothers were going to suck their thumbs and say, Mama, Mama. Tell us a little more, please.
Well, for some folks in that space, there was healing related to relationships with their mothers, relationships with their sisters or grandmothers, or their former lovers or wives or girlfriends, the mothers of their children, where they had been brought down. And so to immerse them in a strong enough current of affirmation to wash away the residue of that, to remind them of how the goddess sees him was the intent. And then to return that same cycle of energy to the women who have also experienced, levels of dysfunction and discrediting and being brought down, but to have them be affirmed by a brother who has been nurtured truly by the Spirit of God. And then to create that kind of cycle, and so that they can go home and continue that with their fathers and their brothers and their own personal mates, to know that they have the power to heal by choice, by your choice of words, by your choice of posture, by your choice of touch.
Yes.
That you can make the difference, but you have to want to do it. And move past the what about me, what about me, what about me, that step outside and be the God in you. Step outside of that, be the God in you, and see the change that you can make. And what you'll notice is that you're healing yourself.
Wow.
What you give to someone else, you are actually giving to yourself. And that's the principle of Ma'at.
That was
web
great.
of connection. So some of those sisters were healing their fathers and healing their brothers, even as they spoke to maybe a man they didn't know so well, and vice versa.
Sister Surama, I want you to stay on the line. Could you stay on the line? I want to bring on our sister Riziki L.
Sure.
She uses the star chart to accomplish aligning of the cosmic body into the physical body. I mean, this was a retreat of geniuses. And the masters of the ceremonies, Master Yao, without saying, we already know he's a brother from another planet, or ancient world that once was wonderful, as Tina Marie would sing in her song, Deja Vu. So we're going to bring on our sister Riziki. Let me make sure I get her number right. Let me make sure. Okay, that's the 470. Hold on, bringing on Sister Riziki. I'm looking for your number. There's a packed house in here. I hope this is it. Sister Riziki, welcome to the show. Peace.
Peace, Brother Ankh. How are you?
I'm okay. Welcome and glad to hear your voice. And it was an honor meeting you and Sister Surama and all the magical people of that huge, well done.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us.
Very magical.
How did you end up there? How did you end up there?
I mean, I had to come. I started, this year, you know, just the energy I'm under, it was really about, you know, like applying a healing modality to, you know, what I already do, which is the star chart. So, you know, first I, you know, became certified in Reiki, and then I said, you know, I definitely want something extra, especially knowing the energy I have already. You know, I thought Tantra would be something good. I was actually introduced to the class by a brother named Irene, and tier one, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. Then I tier two, and I'm definitely like, you know, heck yeah, especially after this retreat, and now I'm in tier three. So, you know, if I'm, you know, passionate about learning something, I'm trying to get it in all the way in. So that's how I ended up there.
I just got a notice that Master Yao is in the queue. I'm just looking to see which number he may be on. Okay, I got to check, and I just checked with Sister Surama, because you have a lot of listeners here. So I'm scrolling through to see if I can find a number that corresponds with the ATL area. So just bear with me. Continue, our Sister Riziki, please.
Well, I guess I could talk about my experience at the retreat. It was very, very, very profound and life-changing, and I talk about it in detail on my blog, Tales of the Tantra, on my website, and I could give that at a later time, Brother you know. So,
yes.
To make a long story short, huh?
I'm listening.
Okay. Well, yeah, to make a long story short, there was some confirmation about some gifts that I had, and, you know, there was just a certain event that had got brought online for me as far as just hearing things and tapping into others' energies or dimensions or past lives. You know, I'm still trying to piece it all together, but it was very, very powerful, and just, you know, confirmed and opened my eyes even more that Tantra isn't, you know, just all about sex, but a deep, deep spiritual awakening and recognition of your own gifts that you have. And the people there were awesome. I call her Mama Sa, Sister Sarama. So, you know, she confirmed some things with me. And like you said, it's just organization or a tribe, I should say, of just really special, talented people, you know, who are safe and very much willing to heal and bring forth their gifts. So it was a really good opportunity for me.
Yes, it was like, I'm trying to have a reference point. However, at this time, Riziki, stay with us. Your line is going to stay open. Sister Surama, your line is going to stay open. I would like at this time to bring on Master Yao. Master Yao, welcome to the show.
I thought are you mad at me?
No! I shared with the family that you had a thunderstorm that you had faced, and you was possibly going to land on the shores of being able to be on the show. So, welcome. And
no, I've been on the queue. You passed me 3 times. I've been on the queue the whole time. Oops.
Please forgive me for my duh moment.
I don't know. I had to get off to call Sarah to tell her. No, but I've heard everything. I've heard the entire show, and so I'm really happy that you had Sarah on. And maybe it's better that she went on before me, because the retreat was really it was less about Master Yao than it was about a lot of other people, some ladies and some men who really. It's kind of interesting that at the retreat, I taught no classes, and yet, except of course the Tier 3 curriculum, but the people who did teach the classes, everyone thought it was top notch. And I felt very, very good that even though I didn't get to teach much,
everybody got such high-level instruction, and it just was one star after another, and it just gives you the sense of the depth within Grand Trine. That, you know, I mean, it was just amazing. I was just so impressed from one presentation after another. I mean, I can't say that enough. I really just can't.
I really appreciate that, Master Yao. Thank you.
And Master Yao, I was saying, you know, God bless the cooks and the time it took, because that food was good. And thank our sister Kiana for helping out in the kitchen. I want to give a special love shout out to Sister Yoko Ono and Kim Muse, and I forgot the beautiful sister. I said you was Master Diamond Cutter near the end of the program. I didn't get everybody's name, and I thank you. I think Sister Riziki, you said that was Angelo. Angelo, want to give him a special acknowledgement. And so how we got to do this again, because next time I'm gonna take a Chinese bus from Brooklyn. Manhattan, because Amtrak took too long. That was like a soul train that was stuck in the station. Master Yao, you can share whatever you feel like.
Well, the hostesses did an excellent job. I think the woman that you're talking about is Shayla. She was like the chief coordinator of all the little things that we were trying to do there. So we definitely give her props. But I mean, you can't really identify one star. Everybody was shining. Sirius Brothers workshop just floored people. They just came out of there like just riding high. And I mean, every event just superseded and rose above the one before it until the party Saturday night, you know. And I think everybody shared one feeling. They didn't want it to stop. Nobody wanted to go home. Nobody wanted to go back to that grind and the job and some of the other issues that we have to face when we come home. But they did. Do you have any specific questions about the theme of the retreat? I know one thing that I want to do, and I'm going to give you the option, brother, to let me do it or let Sarah do it. I think that people need an explanation of what happened during the ritual in the procession.
Yes.
Would you rather have Sarah do it, or would you rather me do it?
I would. It could be either or, but I just want to give a special acknowledgement because he did come forward front and center. Brother Ryan, I would like to bring him on to acknowledge him and let his energy flow free. Brother Ryan, welcome to the show too.
Brother, what happened? How you doing, Master Yao? Irma? Hey.
I'm doing well, thank you.
Very well.
Happy birthday, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Very well.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Oh, I gave him Master Yao. Oh, it must be a special birthday.
And hi, Master Yao.
I know, right?
I got something to ask you later, young lady. You have to explain it.
Uh-oh. Oh, man, I'm always in trouble. Okay.
Okay, so Master Yao, between you and Surama, Sister Surama, let it flow like you want to. It's all yours.
Well, I'll get started, but then I think she's going to probably do the main thing if she's willing.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're doing in the retreat is introducing some of the aspects of the system that are coming as you move up to tiers. We like to talk about things that, happen in Tier 1, and then in Tier 1 we're always talking about things that are going to happen in Tier 2. Tier 2 we're always talking about things that are going to happen in Tier 3. So, of course, we have to do our little sales bit and whatever. But also sometimes we just want to sort of brag a little bit about the diverse aspect of the system and how much it takes into account in terms of your transition and development. As you said earlier in the program, Grand Trine, Tantra, is way more than just sex. Of course, we do sex like nobody else in the world, of course. But, you know,
watch out there now.
Everybody needs to know that if you're not evolving in the other aspects of your life, your sexual life will run off the rails and you will crash and burn. And this doesn't do us any good to make you this, 1 hour orgasmic full body person if you can't stay in a relationship and if you can't be happy and if you can't relate to other people. So one of the things that we do in Tier 3 is we start allowing people to evolve rapidly through the aspect of deity possession. And, let's put it this way. We teach it, and the actual experience of it is reserved for a very select few. But still, it's something that is an indigenous thing, and we want people to know about it, to understand it, to take it out of the closet, to stop looking at it as this mysterious occult activity that, they only do in the bush someplace. We want people to understand the science of it and the purpose of it, and it's to help us bring our full DNA online. Most people don't have a real good idea of what the deities are, what the tree of life is, and it's basically an operating manual for the human being, for the human DNA. And the deities are the templates holding our patterns, and we use the deities to bring more of our natal being online so that we can use it. So we from time to time, we have these events, or mini events, at the retreats and at the classes and at the other workshops and whatever. And it's basically just to sort of give people a taste for what's coming. And that's what we did at the retreat. But I believe that it got so intense and so much happened and so many people had other people tried to possess and whatever until a lot of people left there with questions. They got caught up in the event itself, but then the next day they were like, what happened? I didn't understand every aspect of that. So I'm hoping that Sarah would be willing to just spend a little time going into a little bit more detail about that. Would you do that?
I will do my best. My experience with deity possession was very similar to what happened at the retreat. You are surrounded by people who vibrate at a particular level, and they ask you to do something you've never done before. Because you trust them, you allow the spirit that lives in you to come forward. So that's what we provided for some of the individuals at the retreat who were willing and ready to do that. Not so much forcing them to become something that they weren't, but encouraging them and giving them an opportunity to experience who they truly are anyway. All of those patterns, as Master Yao said, exist inside of us. All of the deity patterns exist as a part of us. But you need opportunity to experience it to a point where you can actually utilize it in your daily life. In this particular ritual or ceremony that we spoke about earlier, one sister had already been feeling very attuned to the energy that was needed. So that environment provided her an opportunity to allow certain parts of herself to recede to the background. And the primary energy of love, restoration, affirmation, joy, and pleasure to come to the front. And then to share that energy with others around her and to develop that faith and trust in herself to be able to do that at will and within the appropriate boundaries that reflect the truths of that particular sphere or deity energy. Did I answer the question?
Well, you answered it in a very professional way, but I want you to sort of get a little more street.
Okay.
A lot of the ladies felt like they felt the energy coming on, and they suppressed it. What was that about?
Well, most of us are our natural inclination is to be complete. And when we're younger, we are taught to stop being complete. And so as we get older, we feel that energy coming on, and we stop it because we've been taught through experiences that are negative or what have you, to not be that way, to not be loving, to not reach out and touch people, to not kiss people, to not hold hands. We're taught those things. And so when they were in a space that reignited that memory, they also reignited the memory that shut it down. And they were given a choice. Either you can now reclaim your whole identity, or you can stay hostage and captive to your trauma, which is what they came there to overcome. So if they were feeling that energy, I'm hoping that they were choosing to engage it to its fullest so that they could reclaim that part of themselves. But a lot of people are afraid of that because they don't want to look weird or strange, or they don't want people to judge them or not, approve. So, that's some of the conflict that people run into.
Wow, that's powerful. Powerful. Please. Flow like water, Master Yao.
That's really a good way to put it, Sarah. It really is. The other thing that I want to bring attention to is that there were many people there who were able to let themselves go for the first time in probably 5 or 10 years and have an authentic sexual experience. And I'm hoping that Recede can maybe speak to that. I'm not talking about her personal experience now. That's not what, right. I'm not talking about her personal life. I'm saying that she was there and she was rolling with a particular clique and she observed, because sometimes people won't do all of what they do around Master Yao. They try to, they kind of like put it under wraps, or they kind of put on a good face while I'm around. And I don't get to see all of the whatever, even though I know more than people think. But I want to say that many people came to me afterwards with major testimonials talking about how they overcame, orgasmic blocks, ceilings, whatever you want to call them, or even more importantly, how they overcame inhibitions or fears about how they look. I mean, even the costumes at the party were very... It was an effort for people to be able to get out of their constraints. Would you please, as you were the supervisor of having fun in the party Saturday night and responsible for much of the damage done...
Oh my oh my gosh, that is so terrible.
For a good deal of the awkwardness people find themselves in now, do you want to talk about what happened with certain of those people around you? And I think you know who I'm talking about, not specifically.
Yeah, well, okay, so first off, there were a couple of things. Well, number one, there was this workshop, as far as the women where, we were to kind of let ourselves loose and, dance. And Mama Side at the time, had a little emergency. So, she was on a side rooting us on, but the workshop was for women to, learn sensual dance. And so just seeing the women there who first had certain kind of outlooks about their body, how they look, how they felt about themselves as far as if they're attractive or whatnot, I saw a lot of that kind of break away in that workshop, as far as them being comfortable to dance and really frame their body. And I even had them practice on me as far as, engaging a man when you're first walking up to him, eye-to-eye contact, and, just kind of how to sway the body in a nice, sexy way. And so they, from what I saw, had fun. And a couple of them who I didn't expect can move. I mean, like, they did a really good job. And the next morning I was waking up, people was lap dancing in the living room, so that was hilarious. It was really, really funny. What else? Okay, I'm assuming as far as the extra trouble that went on may have something to do with my Irish moth that I made. I heard it kind of had people up and running. And, the party. Yeah. So, yes. What, that's what you're talking about? Sorry about that. The party. No, yes. I am. But it was a tantric weekend, so I was just trying to assist the Kundalini. But anyway, the party. So yeah, the party. I definitely wanted everyone to kind of dress up as a reflection of the god or goddess in them, or what particular archetype they wanted to bring online. And the costumes were amazing. I mean, I really give people credit for the effort that they put in. And, we just had a really good time. And, afterwards, stuff happened. I don't know. It was a good time. I don't know if that explained it. Well,
so my first question is, what was the deer god? I mean, what deity was that?
What deer god? Oh, that's probably how he saw himself. I am not one to judge. So, maybe next time I'll have everyone explain their costumes. But, I don't know, Master Yao. We're going to have to ask him.
Is that deity there?
I don't know what to say.
They had very little clothing on. That's all I could say.
Well, it was hot outside. It's Tantra. Everyone had fun. So I know you had fun. You look like you did, but I won't say any names.
I was having fun. Someone gave me the armor. Let me dance with them for a little bit. So yes, I could have fun.
Yes, yeah.
So back to the show. So I really also think, brother, that people need an avenue, a time, or an event where they can get outside of their box and not be judged for it. We learned a lot at the retreat. We really did, I think, at least from the testimonials that I've gotten from people. Everybody's saying that they advanced and did more things. But it seems to me even more stimulating than that is that people got up the courage and got out of their box and acted. It's like she just mentioned about the lap dancing early in the morning. I came downstairs to see about the breakfast being set up, and one brother was giving a woman a lap dance, and then the next thing you know, they're on the floor, and he's giving her a lap dance. And it was a pretty energetic one. And this was two people. The young lady was somewhat shy, at least that's what I thought. And the gentleman was somewhat, of the scholarly persuasion before. And I just thought, okay, well, I just turned and walked away because I'm like, but maybe that's something people need to do from time to time in a wholesome way. Because there were boundaries. We did have sort of a limit to how far we wanted people to take things. So there was a safe space. But I think people really need that more and more. It's like when you go to the club, you don't know who you're really dealing with. And people will take advantage of you, do things to you, and you'll regret having a little bit of fun. And we really need to get back to a place where people can have fun, let their hair down, move past their boundaries, and feel safe about it, and not feel like, it's going to come back to haunt them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to emphasize what you're saying, because there's an element of joy that empowers you to create the life you want. And the difference in joy and happiness is joy is a choice. Happiness relies on circumstances. And what I was really hoping people would see is the power that they gain from the joy they express. And I think that's what you're getting at, is having a safe place to express your natural joy as a man and a woman without, getting into situations that may be regrettable.
Or feeling obligated like you have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I'm
100%,
grateful.
sir. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think too, for some women, sorry.
No, go ahead, honey.
No, I was saying too, and just from talking to the other sisters there, a lot of them who had, suffered from certain traumas and stuff like that, and, before would kind of shy away from being so intimate, but like in a platonic kind of way with the man, as far as just being loved on and hugged on and get your foot rubbed. And, it's like, again, everybody had their chance to just receive without feeling obligated to give, and that's one of the things, like, I learned too through this, is like, there is a state of being to where you can give and not feeling like you're losing. And so for people to just have that exchange, it made a lot of sisters feel safe and kind of have a more easier time to kind of just, let loose. So yeah, that safe space is very important, because it's a lot of healing that has to be done dealing with sexual trauma or whatever the case may be, but you don't feel safe to do it. So,
and it's not
just
it's not
sisters and brothers. Oh yeah, absolutely.
A lot of brothers.
Because some brothers there had some trauma as well, and even like you said, with the ritual where the sisters had, a chance to receive, and then the brothers had a chance to receive, and the exercise where it was one man and 4 women, and we're just, telling him affirmations through, from all directions. I mean, I felt the power in that. It was like a lot of release, and some got emotional, and you could just tell some never even had that kind of experience before, and it was truly orgasmic for them, but without sex. So that was powerful too.
I want to share an experience I had. I cried my first tears from circumcision when I was on the table, and the sister was working on me, and I was like, I remember when I was a little teenager, I used to just look at my little Roscoe and like look at him with his little scars and say, "What happened to you?" And I would sometimes just stare and wonder, like, what the fuck? What happened to you? And then I want to thank the sisters, who gave me love and support, and also when I was a table model on the porch, Master Yao and Sister Surama, what she did with the feather windstorm, what she did with the moxie buskin, opened up my navel chakra, where it used to be like a headlight back in the day when I was studying Aikido. It used to be, I could feel the projection coming out of my navel chakra, and that was the first time I felt that in years. So I want to thank Feather Windstorm for turning on my headlight. And also, Brother Ryan, I want you to say a few words. Go ahead, Master Yao, what'd you say?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Brother Ryan, if you come in and share a few of your words, brother, because you inspired me.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I enjoyed the retreat. It was, I think, for the most part, I've seen people evolve more. I've seen things are being done faster as far as, the spiritual growth, emotional growth. Things are changing. This is my second retreat. I always come to support Master Yao in his endeavors, as well as Surma and everybody part of the Burn Train community. I think that we got a bright future to look forward to, man. I enjoy the parties. I enjoy the women. I pretty much float around and, comforted, and they comfort me. We walked around. It was just like a great platonic exchange. And what I've seen and what I've found is that most people struggle with connecting on a deeper level, quick and intimately with the blockages that we're talking about, they're kind of like psychic walls, if you would have. And sometimes we could pace through that. And this is one of the events that allow people to pace through that. I think after we realize that it's a safe environment as far as being able to communicate openly and be who you are as that, that light being inside of the flesh. I think it opens that window, for ancestors to come true, deities to come true. And, the synchronicity of the women in the room is very important. Women just sync if you pay attention to, the cycle of a woman. If you have 5 women living in a room, they all begin to get the menstrual cycle at the same time, the synchronicity. So these sisters coming together, these women are very important, including the men, because you have masculine and feminine principles in nature. As you look around, you can find it anywhere. And, the Grand Trine event encompasses a whole, we being able to tap into either one of those principles, whether it's masculine or feminine, and, being able to be wrapped in a blanket, a love, even if it's a short period of time, which is not enough time, we go back to the 80-20%, 80% hard work and the grit and the blood and whatever, the tears, and then you get a 20% of pleasure. I think we should shift the ratio. Whereas 80% pleasure and 20% of what happens in life or what the universe decides to bring to us. So this event, in detail, as I see deities coming in and leaving women. It rejuvenates the eyes in me to feel my ancestors even more, and to know that they actually there because they're actually being responsive. And how I knew is when me and Sarah was placing the table outside before the party. And, it's just the energy, they were talking to me, messages, women were walking up and giving me messages throughout the whole retreat, and I was wondering, well, what is this? But, I didn't allow myself to go left brain. I received. And, that has set forth the work for me, myself personally, aside from the platform that was created by the great people in Grand Trine. They allow me to extend and want to extend and to pull that true pureness and love that's within me, that compassion, that deep compassion that don't have anything to do with the physical realm, and allow when I have clients on the table or I engage with a man or woman as far as any work related to anything, to actually want to give my heart to these people and let them see what it is, me as just me, what is inside of me, before the personality even hit, just that being. So, this event was, I think, remarkable. Everything was exquisite. I had a wonderful time. It was a way for me to get away from the hustle and bustle of the long hours, and just truly just be, I guess this is the ultimate goal of what bliss really looks like. I always wondered to myself, what would we really accomplish if that was just to be,
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I would say, my uncle used to say, my cousin Bill used to say, right on, right on.
Did you want to get some more questions answered, Brother Hank, or do you want Sarah and Riziki to continue talking about the the secret lives of retreat activities?
Oh, that sounds like more fun, Master Yao. So I pick choice B.
Well, Sarah, would you care to enlighten us as to some of the activities on the deck during the day?
Oh, you know, the deck during the day is where the Spirit of God goes to sit. So, you know, when folks are looking to connect, nature is out there. And when we put ourselves in the presence of nature and all their goodness, then the truth comes to light for us. And we're each other's reflection. So out on the deck, we're having a good time. You know, we're communing with nature and celebrating the fact that we have enough courage to be at that retreat.
Mm-hmm.
But I did want to kind of talk a little bit about real Tantra in your real life. You know, most of us think about just Tantra in the bedroom, and I've noticed that my partner uses Tantra on me all the time. We could be at the bank, and I'm getting upset, and he'll put his hand on my back and help move that energy. Or, you know, I'll be feeling wound up and can't get to sleep, and he'll put his hand on my stomach or my chest and help me to get to sleep. Like, Tantra isn't just about being erotic. It's also about stabilizing and bringing a balancing to the energy in your body. You know, you ever find yourself in an argument with somebody and you don't know how you got there? Master Yao?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not sure who you were talking to, because you know it's true for me.
So sometimes Tantra is the answer to that. You know, that sometimes the energy needs balancing, and that Tantra can be applied in those situations very generously, and they can help. They can bring a resolution where your words may not bring resolution. It's a very powerful skill to have.
To further in what you're saying, we're right now training or working with 3 or 4 young ladies in the Atlanta group in the Offset faculty, the 9th sphere on the Tree of Life. And they began preparing for the next possession ritual 2 weeks before. This is my protocol. And I got this from the Asara Set people, but actually it goes back before them. And so you have this protocol where when you're going to possess, you start working with that energy, and you start bringing that into your daily life 2 weeks before the ritual. And you're working with the significators, and you're doing what you got to do. Now with Offset, one of the things that we look at with that sphere is that it's dealing with trance and emotions and how the subconscious is ultimately programmed. It's programmed whenever we go into trance, and whenever we have an emotional reaction to something, it pulls us down to a trance. Now, of course, the trance can be added to or deepened by other factors. You know, like when you're watching TV, that's a form of trance, or certain types of music. There are many things that can put us in trance. And I mean, hypnosis is one example, of course, but during the day, when you get inside your car and shut the door and you're isolated from the environment and you start that engine, it puts you in a form of trance, and you stay there until you get out. You can feel it. You can feel the shift as you go from being in trance and to being fully awake all during the day. If somebody makes you angry, and you're very, very angry, you start to lose awareness, and you start to go into trance. Now, so all during the day, we're going in and out of trance. And when we're in trance, that is when we program our subconscious, when we program our behavior, and when we condition ourselves and create our counterfeit personality. So one of the things that we're doing here is we're showing people that if you want to really change your counterfeit personality and really evolve and really start to develop some powers, you have to take charge of this process that's going on all day long, all week long, where you're constantly reprogramming yourself. So these few people who are involved in this project, as the other projects before them, they are helping to teach the entire class, all Tier 3, Tier 2, and Tier 1 in Atlanta, this lesson of this is what I did when I started preparing for the ritual, and this is what I had to endure, and this is what I saw myself encountering in terms of conflict and challenge. And this thing, I mean, I had to deal with this today. You know, I went to the dentist and I got some bad news. And so after I left the office, I had to make a choice to reinforce the feeling that I had, you know, or to not reinforce it because it wasn't good news. Yesterday I was experiencing pain. So I had the choice. And I was very conscious of this because I just finished teaching somebody else about it. So now I've got pain. So do I reinforce these feelings of pain, or do I try to ignore and try to medicate it or try to do something so that the pain does not stay in so that I'm not constantly reinforcing that feeling of pain and making this part of my subconscious programming. So my answer, of course, is to take charge of my own self, that my will be imposed over the pain or over the negative news, so that I'm enforcing myself to try to feel a particular way to the extent that I can. And I'm trying to impose on myself that, okay, this is the outcome that I expect to achieve from this negative action. It's not easy. Now that's a pretty extreme example, but as a consequence, you know, I recovered very rapidly today, and hence I'm talking on the phone now. And that was not possible 7 hours ago. I was not able to talk. And so I know that I'm going to have a better recovery because I did not reinforce the conditioning of being in pain. And you know, I acknowledge the fact that I violated something so that I would have a condition in my mouth that would cause pain. But at the same time, I don't second, I don't confirm, I don't reinforce the pain. Now, I had to spend money that I wasn't planning on spending this week. And so at one time during the day, you know, I was like, okay, I better check my bank account, you know, online, because I spent something I wasn't planning on spending. And so immediately I felt that whole scarcity poverty mentality. And so I immediately squashed that. And I immediately thought, I'm much more prosperous than I was this time last year. And overall, I'm very prosperous, and I am. And so I reinforced that emotion. And then when I checked the balance, I said, it's going to be up to this level again, you know, within a couple of weeks. And that's how I looked at that. And at the same time, I'm doing things to make that happen. You don't just wish it and expect it's going to fall out of the sky. You've got to put something in motion so that the conditioning can be reinforced. But I don't just say, well, okay, I spent a bunch of money I wasn't expecting on spending, and I'm starting to tense up and worry. Don't do that. Because offset, you're reprogramming your subconscious every week, every month, every moon. Now, these people who are involved in this project where they're undergoing this, you know, we're going to do all 9 spheres on the tree of life. But this goes back to what Sarah was just saying earlier, you know, out on the deck, where you come in contact with stuff in real life. And so it's one thing to just have this practice at a ritual or when you're in the bedroom, but we are really expanding it, and really we always have, to an everyday practice where you start to empower yourself with this force all the time, so that, yes, you're feeling a little bit down during the day because something that you hoped to come in didn't come in, and so you generate a little orgasmic activity to pick yourself up, and so that you can enforce in your subconscious an emotion that's not disappointment. So you start to feel angry about stuff, and that happens to me from time to time. And so somebody comes, makes a little joke, and gives me some energy to help pull me back to a place where I'm feeling good. So I pushed that out there to show the breadth and the scope of Grand Trine and the people in it. It's much more than Master Yao, much, much more. And at this retreat, I think the students really stepped up and showed what they can do, the healing, the mastery of different sciences, and the miracles that were performed, and the breakthroughs. And I'm just very, very pleased.
We love you, Master Yao.
Okay.
Love you, Master Yao.
Master Yao, still on the line?
We're all here. I salute you, Master Yao, even though I'm the new kid on the block and a little reckless at times. I salute you, bro.
It's okay. We love you, brother.
We love you, bro.
I'm a work in progress. Please look out for falling debris.
We all are.
Yeah.
Well, this has been wonderful. I'm really appreciative of what you're doing, bro, of getting this information out and letting people know that Tantra is a true spiritual and healing modality. So I appreciate you. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
And thank you for being there. And, I mean, when I was putting together the first flyer, just looked like a woman breaking out of a volcano. And then I did a long-distance session with a sister friend. And when I came out of the session, I clearly heard family redo that flyer. Honor the sources of Tantra. And that was the last flyer that looked like an Egyptian king and queen. And then on the sides are two sisters, one, looking like she's, like from India, and the other sister looked like she's from the heavens, just listen to our hearts. And, we're only here for a little while, so let's make it a good run, a good ride. Master Yao, those who are interested, because I'm getting a lot of texts from people who are interested in going to upcoming workshops, how can they get in touch with you?
The best way is to send an email to thegrandtrine@gmail.com. That's TheGrand, Trine. That's with a T, TR. And so it's the Grand Trine, Trine like in three, Trinity, at gmail.com. And may take a couple of days to respond, but we try to respond to all emails.
Excellent. Sister Resede, did I say your name right?
Yes, you did.
Now, I know that you have gifts and talents, and could you share with everyone what you offer?
Sure. Well, as mentioned earlier, I do star charts, and it's utilizing a system that's known today as sidereal. And according to Master Yao, that and the Bagua, and I'm excited to take Tier 3 because I'm definitely going to learn more about that, has a lot of similarities. But again, I utilize star charts to kind of help people get in alignment with their cosmic self, in addition to the teachings, from Grand Trine. So, so far, the jewels I've been implementing, I'm seeing results. So I'm just grateful to combine the two.
And how could people reach you?
Oh, yeah, my website is www.rizikizafira, that's RIZIKIZAFIRA.com. Again, if you're interested in a star chart or taking a workshop on sidereal astrology, definitely let me know, and we'll contact you.
Yes, thank you. And brother Ryan Romaine,
yes, sir.
I shared. I had to share your ancient technique of blowing away bad winds. So there's people who are interested and sisters who are interested. I ain't sending you no brothers, man. I ain't talked to no brothers about that.
Yeah.
How can people reach you? How what's the best way to reach you?
You can reach me at Greener Joy, that's GREENERJOY @gmail.com.
Excellent. Thank you, bro. And you gave
yes. What I do really, and what I do is I provide a safe space for the women. The thing is that I want to get, when I do a consultation, I usually discuss some of your trauma, what you're going through, and what you want to achieve from the table work. What I think is most important, not only set goals for yourself, but set goals on the table, set goals for your life, your spiritual growth, what you want to relieve from here, so we can work towards that. And then we start to look at the things that may keeping you in the same space, let alone that, how to create your own force field and your own protection. Also understanding your dynamics of how you flow through the works, using the elements to be a governing guide, whether you air, your earth, or your fire sign, allow that to be the governing process to decide how you should encounter the world. Because we spoke a lot about anger and how the outside world interfere with your energy or interfere with your power. And these is very important protocols to have when you're going through any process of table work, because the table work don't really start on the table. It starts before you get on the table, and it should go with you after the table, to start that continuum of energy, So anybody looking, interesting, because it's not because you could project in any way, fashion, or form. It goes table work, Tantra. The Tantra is actually life. So it goes beyond the table. It goes beyond the modalities. The modalities are set there for the principles. So you could govern yourself as a discipline. That's why we do all the funny hand movements in class, especially for the tier 1 students that are now coming in. Those create a discipline and send the energy where it needs to go. But it's a discipline for you in your form to structure the spirit. So in the end, it don't have no structure. It become one again with the universe, and it becomes a cycle. So it just be, So feel free to reach me at greenerjoy@gmail.com. I'll be willing to work with anybody. And I hope Master Yao feel better. I'm sorry that your tooth hurting.
Yeah.
Parsley and watercress and some wheatgrass with mixed together will take care of any inflammation that's there. Usually the pain comes from the inflammation, so make sure you ain't got no infection. Okay.
Oh, also cloves, right? Isn't cloves good for?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cloves. I know that powder. I don't know if you would want to be chewing on no cloves, but maybe the powder, can be.
Yeah, you could do the powder. Yeah.
And we can. Master Yao, are you receptive to for a collective projection in your direction?
It it's not really necessary, I don't think. I think what I am receptive to is that people put a place in their hearts for me to be, you know, healed, and to be, to see me being healed, and to see me being, you know, taken care of and supported. And we have, you know, a few people that are I don't want to say too much, but there's a few people who take that seriously, who look after me on a constant basis, you know, check in with me to make sure I'm doing okay, and some come to see me. So I think the best thing is for the group to support those people, especially those women, and who take that burden on, and to try to make sure that I'm okay. So, you know, young lady, very, came by and brought me medicine today. She called and she checked to see if I was doing okay. Found out I was in a pain, and she went and got stuff from the drugstore and brought it to my house. And I just thought that was exceptionally nice. It just made me feel so much better today. So I think, you know, I don't want to put people on blast all the time. I don't know how they feel about being named, but when you discover that people are doing things like that for me, support them. Mm-hmm. And one young lady wanted to travel from North Carolina and come to Atlanta and give me a massage because, you know, she heard that I was stressed. And, you know, people are like, okay, well, why is she trying to do that? Why is she going to do that? And what else is she trying to deal with? But, you know, I think the real issue here was that she just wanted to give me a massage, period. End of story. I don't think there was any other agenda. I'm certain of it. And the fact that, you know, she's 3 hours away did not seem to bother her. I think that if she knew that there was a local person that was massage capable as she is, she's very good, I think she would have been happy to send them the money, save the gas, and they could have massaged me. But my point is that, you know, this is how I try to function with people, to, you know, to look in on them and to try to take care of them. And if I hear something, right now, one of our high-level brothers is dealing with death in the family. We haven't been cleared to call his name yet, so I'm not going to mention it. But I mean, a few people would know who I'm talking about. And he's been, you know, sort of out of communication for 3 days now, and I've been a little bit worried. But I'll respect his privacy and wait until he's ready to reach out and talk to people. But, you know, we're a family, and that's how we need to roll. We need to be looking out, at least thinking about people. And if you know, that person is really having a tough time, then, you know, at least if somebody lives near them, say, hey, go check on Recede and see if she's doing okay, and whatever. So, yeah, I really appreciate the thought. And there are times that I do need, you know, people to support me in terms of, you know, think about me and think about how my health is, or think about how my, you know, I'm coping with a big administrative burden right now in Grand Trine. And so, and the reason that I'm mentioning this is because we've gotten a little bit distant from each other. And maybe I'm partly at fault about that. And I think we got to think about each other more. People tend to think that I'm invincible. How they got that, I don't know, but I'm definitely not. You know, I don't hardly ever get sick much, but about the one place on my body that has had issues is my gums. And, you know, I have made it better and sort of prolonged a problem, you know, that should have been a lot worse perhaps. But gradually, you know, I have to one day face it. But I feel like, okay, if all of these other things I've sort of escaped, I guess something's gonna catch up with you. But people have serious issues, and every day, I get calls from people who are in need of healing, in need of this, and in need of that, in need of money, in need of opportunities, in need of things. And I want to say right now, not just to the Grand Trine family listening, but to anyone who's listening, that we should try to reach out to people more in a real way, with real feeling, to try to look and see what's going on in their life in a way that matters. That little call, that little check-in, that's something we used to do a lot more than we do today. I'd like to see that come back. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah. And the church said, "Amen."
Amen.
Amen.
And the sisters say, "A woman." Sister Surama, did I say your name right? I know Gemini. Sister Gemini.
Surama.
Say it again.
Surama.
Now, I know you got a big old medicine bag that you carry around, I can tell. So, can you share some of your goodies in your bag that you have to offer sometime?
Yes, of course. Are you asking me what services I offer?
Yep.
Well, I am a graduate suite, which means that I do offer counseling and coaching for challenges. I also provide spiritual baths and ceremonies to assist with personal challenges. Of course, I am, taking very few clients at this time, as I'm also working with Master Yao and Grand Trine. But one of my strong suits is creating rituals and ceremonies, and also helping to empower people to build their own traditions. We are the makers of tradition right now. We establish those traditions for tomorrow in our today. So that's what I do. And you can find me on Facebook at this time as Surama Makisha Phillips.
Ashe. Wow. And Lester, did you? Family, did you enjoy the opening words of Lester Loving in talking about Orgone?
Yes,
helpful?
I did. I'm interested in learning a bit more about the Orgone and the pieces that you make as well. They were very beneficial to me at the retreat, and I really appreciate you helping me with that, with the water and with the Orgone. So thank you again, and I'm looking to get more information about that.
Lester, are you still on the line?
Yeah.
And how could people reach you?
Well, I'm always found directly above the center of the earth. And I just wanted to say this. There's only two times when I'm not aligned, and that is daytime and nighttime. So, but I'm available at 215-609-6586.
That is funny. I gotta remember that line. Oh, wait a second. Then I had to go into. Hold on. Oh, that was Feather Windstorm. She was supposed to have been with us tonight. She was saying that she had to. She was on from 7 to 8, and then she had to go into service. So, Feather Windstorm, if you could hear us, we thank you for all that you give and keep on giving, and all you geniuses in Grand Trine. Master Yao, thank you for this awesome service, these products, these books. And I want to give a special thank you to Omi Funke. Anybody know Omi Funke?
Yes.
Yep, she was the one that turned me on to Grand Trine. So that's how, Surama, thank you. Nikisha, not Nikisha, Nikinzi, Riziki. I said it right? Riziki? I want to say thank you. And to all the members of Grand Trine, if you're listening, or special acknowledgement to my warrior healer brother, Thomas Hargrove, who I call Sifu. And I always say to him, steel sharpens steel. But in the spirit of Ubuntu, we are one, me, we, and collectively we can help each other. And I thank you, Master Yao, for reinforcing that, for us to look out for each other. And I know that my southern roots would be in total agreement with you. You can talk a little smack, but when it comes down to getting past the biscuits, the cousins got to have each other's back, because that's where we're heading in this U.S. of A. We got to look out for each other again, more than a little bit. So, any more closing words before we say good night?
Thank you, brother. Keep making the orgonite.
Oh, thank you.